everybody, welcome back here on the tech stage at the Digital Fashion. Great to see you guys. I see some familiar faces, some new faces. Thank you for seizing the time and enjoy here your stay at the tech stage. For the next lecture, join Jule from verce and Gerd from DMIx in one exciting 40-minute presentation exploring the innovative landscape of fashion's digital transformation. DMIx comprehensive ecosystem is a beacon of modernity in the fashion and textile industry, providing unparalleled precision in color management, integration of 3D fitting models, and lifelike digital human renderings. So please welcome Gerd Willschütz, CEO at ColorDigital, and Jule Widmann, Head of Digital Fashion, member of the board at verce, on the stage with a big round of applause and a lot of positive energy.
Da geht's auch schon los. Schönen guten Tag zusammen. Jule, your stage.
Hello, everybody. So there's never been a time where digital content creation has changed more than at the moment. A few years already, content has created completely digital, for example, in the interior or architecture area. The automotive industry is very advanced in digitization and in its applications. The images are on a level of quality where you can't see if it's real or if it's digital. Also, the fashion industry has creating virtual campaigns and virtual fashion shows on a very high level of realistic for several years. With the further development of the digital lifestyle visualizations, one thing became increasingly clear. Do you see what's missing on these images? The humans in the natural appearance are missing. And that's why the uncanny valley. To create a human being virtually, it must be 100% on point. Because we humans are the most critical jury on the topic of realistic avatars. Because they are our mirror images. That's Ava. She is a virtual model fully created in 3D. But first of all, who is DMIx and verce?
Yes. So, I mean, you saw Eva already, so that's basically where we want to go. This is basically the end point of the journey. In order to get there, there's a lot to do. And this is what we do at DMIx. We are an ecosystem. We connect brands and suppliers in various ways. I'll explain that later. We started our journey around 2015 here in Cologne, so it's actually hometown, home game here. And we are focusing very much on textile and lifestyle brands. But basically, we do most of the stuff we do internally. So we have people who are in IT, of course. We have people who are specialists for digital colors and production colors. We have textile engineers who are going to our clients in order to make things work the right way. And we have a fantastic team that is working on 3D appearance and 3D technologies. When we're looking at the textile chain, this is a global business, so we have clients and partners all over the world. We can service basically, of course, here from Germany, but also from different points in the world with different partners. And yeah, and at one point we came to work together with verce, and this is why we're here together today. And Jule, you can talk a little bit about verce.
Thank you. verce is a company founded by Arndt Johannes in the late 2021. And I'm the head of digital fashion. We are a spin-off from the CGI studio Zoe, based in Wuppertal in Berlin. Zoe is mainly focused on digitization or digital images of interior and architecture. You have seen some of their work in the very beginning of this presentation. So our background of verce is a long experience from the CGI world. We are specialized in creating virtual models. And we are the studio behind Aver, our virtual protege. At verce, we have a deep knowledge in fashion development, avatar, human autonomy, avatar requirement, coupled with 3D, real-time, and AI knowledge. And that enables us to integrate our virtual models into the phygital supply chain.
Yes, and the phygital supply chain, phygital is, I don't like to pronounce the word, but it's very relevant because when you look at how products are developed today, there are a lot of stages, right? And a lot of stages also overlap. So we have the overlap between virtual materials, real materials, colors that be displayed in virtual space, but that also should work in a dyeing mill at the end, so that in the end, we are able to have everything together for distribution. And of course, for us, also missing was the whole part of the human, the avatar, because fashion without avatar, without human, doesn't make real sense. And you see this a lot, that basically the 3D workflow in the companies stops at a certain point. Sometimes it stops maybe at B2B sales, which is already quite far. Sometimes it stops very early in the design phase. But going to the last point, and I mean, we saw Bastian before from INEG, you can imagine how much effort goes into these projects, right? So basically what we need over this chain is scalability. And scalability only works when we are working together. That means it's not the brand alone doing the job, but basically all the suppliers need to be involved. Imagine you want to do 2,000 garments a year, and you need to digitize all materials for these 2,000 garments by yourself. Basically, you need a full team that is only digitizing materials, is only building things that can be used in the 3D chain. So what we said, it would make much more sense if we get the suppliers on board. So basically everybody who is producing something should also be enabled to give a digital twin next to it. So then maybe we can speed things up and have a completely different way of working together in the digital world. So this is what the ecosystem is about. We are, for over 1.5 years now, also ISO certified. So everything what we do, it's not a marketplace, right? This is not showing off thousands of articles that you don't want to see. This is always dedicated between a brand and selected partners. And they interact over the system in a very secure way. Because obviously product development is something that should be kept secret to a certain point, and is nothing you want to do openly on a marketplace somewhere. From the brand perspective, there's always two ways to look at. On the internal side, of course, we have things like the 3D team, we have quality inspection, we have a PLM system that somehow need to get information or give information in order to steer the workflows. That's on this side. And then basically over the ecosystem, we connect the brands with their suppliers. The next interesting thing that happened here really was that we do not only connect the brand with their tier 1 suppliers. This is the actual business relationship, of course. But of course, it's also very interesting to see who is tier 2 and who is tier 3. Because the tier 1 doesn't do it on their own. Of course, they involve tier 2, tier 3, and even tier 4 suppliers. And everyone in this chain is a specialist, so everyone we should talk to about their special stuff they are doing. For example, look at dyeing. Dyeing a fabric means that a color specialist on the brand side should be able to talk to a dyeing house that is not at tier 1, but at tier 2. They should have a direct connection in order to get things going perfectly. Same happens, of course, when we change the perspective to the supplier side. It's crazy. If you are a supplier, you have 200 clients today, you have 200 different ways of how they expect you to be digital, how to expect you to do sampling, how they expect you to do certain things. There's no standardization at all. And of course, for a supplier, that's a headache, right? You can't, because you never know what to do and when to do it right and how to do it. There's no standard. And this is the first time where we basically offer a standardized way so that even if a supplier starts digitizing materials, he can be sure that these materials can be used at various brands and not only at one brand. The main fields we are working in are, of course, color technology. This is where we came from. This is our first idea, to go away from subjective ideas of color to something that is more objective and more technological in order to get better quality, be precise, be quicker, and so on. What evolved after this is the whole 3D technology part. So obviously these two topics are also connected because, color goes into material and becomes something that has appearance. So suddenly you see gloss and you see behavior of material, but still the color is a very dominant figure in the game, right? So that travels also into the 3D world. And finally, what we also saw, if we have digital material, then we also need the master data next to it, right? Because we need all the production data, we need pricing, we need availability, we need the ingredients of the material. All this basically belongs to a virtual material in order to use it properly and inside the workflow. What we managed to do over the years is that basically we already have exchange capabilities with most systems that are used in the industry. And that is also on the 3D side as on the color side. So if you see data color here or X-Rite, then basically you are more on the color side. If you see CLO, browseware, and so on, you are more on the 3D side. But basically all the tools needed you can use within our ecosystem. So basically we take some of these tools because they are island solution and make them part of the ecosystem for everyone to use. Now, being digitally for us also means to be right, because it makes no sense at all to digitize something that doesn't reflect reality, because we will never get to the point where we can decide on a digital material and not having a sample. Of course, and I know all the answers from textile people saying, yeah, but we need to touch and we need all this, right? I can't count how many times I've heard that. And yes, of course, if there's a new material, there's a new development, of course you need a sample that you can touch, the way you can feel the behavior and so on. But let's face it, in reality, at some of our brands we are working with, 80% is standard material. It's carried over from one season to the next, and what is changing is the color and the design. And this is something you can do digitally perfectly and very precisely. And in order to do so, basically the whole solution, and people don't see this when using DMIx, is also color managed. So at any point where you need the perfect appearance of your material, you can set up a color-controlled monitor, upload your profile, and basically you have the comparison between real and virtual. Now let's look a little bit inside in DMIx and how it looks. And we put this in a video. So you can see there are, of course, colors. There are materials. With the materials, we can do various things. So we can give you a 3D real-time application in order to see straight away, without being a 3D artist, something in 3D. You can also change the object you're looking on. We have the production data. We have the complicated things, trims and accessories, buttons, all the stuff you need in order to make a virtual garment in the end that works. You can compare, you can exchange. So this is the exchange with CLO, for example, where we have a drag and drop API. So you basically can just drag and drop materials from your archive into Clo, and everything works quite magically for you as an artist. You don't have much hassle. And so basically, in the end, everything comes together. So we have the color. From the color, the material is created. We have the garment that you can see in real time very easily. And then, of course, final step would be to dress a human, to render a picture, and use it for marketing, e-commerce, etc. And this is, of course, where we are working together with Verce. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. Virtual materials can be pretty complex, and sometimes it's quite challenging, but technology is evolving very fast, and also scanning and the way we can manage the appearance inside the DMIx is, I mean, there's still stuff that is complicated, that is very, very difficult. Let's think about fur or something like this. But normal stuff can be done to a very, very perfect degree. On the color side, it's really, as I said, we see what's happening in the industry, and of course that starts at a very early point where we are talking about the whole topic of creative freedom, and we don't want to get rid of your creative freedom as designers. You should be able to use whatever you like in order to put your colors together for the season. This can be something you found somewhere. This can come out of existing color systems. We are Pantone partner, so basically you have the full Pantone library at your hand to work. We don't say on how to do it. But the next step, of course, is very important. And basically, so here's a color mood. And what we do is basically we freeze your idea, your mood, into a color standard. And this color standard is basically then the one who travels along the chain to everyone who is involved in the game in order to get your product right. And there are some technical stuff to look at here. Too much for today, but I can show you exactly how to do it. But what we see a lot is we come to brands, they have a very good idea of what they want to achieve right at the front, at the design side. Then it goes into production, and suddenly everything goes into different directions. And in the end, the collection doesn't look quite right, because the whole color journey in between wasn't precise at all. And this is where we can really help you. And this is not only on the quality side. This is an example of how the process can be changed. So we can cut down from 20 days and 40% right color into something of 5 days and 100% right color. And that is not even very complicated. We know the tools, we know how to do it, we know how dyeing mills work, and they work perfectly the same, all of them. And then basically we come to the whole point, because all this happens digitally and so fast that you still have reaction time. So basically, if a material, bulk material, is wrong on your dyeing side, it will not even be shipped somewhere else, because you know right when it's finished and controlled that it is not right. And then basically you can decide, okay, it's either a marginal approval, so we go with it, or you have to redo it. What doesn't happen anymore is that the material gets shipped and the tier 1, so the next stage, discovers that it is wrong, and then you have to decide to send it back, right? And this is where the real chaos starts, because then we know we have somebody that needs to pay logistics, we are messing up with timing, maybe we have to change production lines, everything gets out of control, and in the end, you still have a compromised product at the store, right? Also very interesting, what we can do is, when we have all the data for materials on the material side, we can give you, together with a partner called Made2Flow, an instant impact measurement. So that would mean, in terms of ecological working, you could have design by impact. So if you have two similar fabrics from different suppliers, and one uses a lot of CO2 and energy, and the other one uses less, and of course, we can only talk here cradle to gate, right? So it's just the cradle to gate phase we can see right now. Of course, shipping of the garment and so on comes later stage. But as a designer, you have here the perfect vision of what you are using. And that's also at a very early stage, right? And I think it's also for suppliers at one point, this becomes a very important marketing value as well, because some of them are very, very good in this, and they're not showing it. So with this, we are suddenly able to show it. And of course, there's the whole scientific stuff behind, but too much for today. But for me, I think it's fascinating that we can do that just based on data. Now, when we have everything together, what we need is a photo studio. So this is what you would do with your physical garments as well. You would dress a model, you would put it inside a studio, you would have a photographer coming and a styling expert, and you would fiddle around as long as it needs to be nice. You'll set the lights, you set the camera, you do your shot. Of course, we need the same in digital. So with this 3D Studios application, you are now able basically to set your lighting, to set your camera, to set your background, and what we also can do is stack processing. So you don't have to do one at a time, but you can start hundreds and wait for the results as soon as they finish. The interesting part here, again, is standardization, because suddenly you are able to have a standardized light set that always works right for your e-commerce. You have the right camera angles, you have the right background. Everything is set so that it can be processed straight into your next pipeline, into your PIM system or into your e-commerce site, wherever you want to go. And this is also something that is very much missing today, because sometimes all this happens on individual machines from individual artists, and is very complex and takes another step on top to get the pictures right. And yeah, this leads over to Jule, because obviously you can see here some humans already, but there's much more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, fashion is made for people. So what does it mean for us? At the same time, every person is unique, and fashion is an extremely changeable business. This creates a huge demand on virtual models. We have created our twin models in the highest quality and with the finest details for digital content production. So you can see the eye looks like an eye, or the hair is like realistic. So we don't have the gap of the uncanny valley.
And they don't exist, right?
No, they don't exist.
Completely made up, right?
Yeah.
So this is not a human, and we, repainted them digital. They are completely own characters, correct?
Yeah. So they're no an existing person that looks like these avatars. Yeah, you also can see the detailing on the clothing and the fabrics. So you really see the detailing, you see the lace and the shining and the transparency. As well on this thing. So I think it's not possible to say if it's real or if it's a digital image, and everything is digital. So nothing on these images are from a photography or something.
It is quite interesting because as soon as people know what we are doing, everybody tends to see something. It's crazy. But we confronted a lot of people with pictures and they didn't know. And the reaction are almost never something is wrong. Because of course we are so used to photoshopped images, people don't get it, right? That's also, always keep in mind, if you know about 3D and you know you're looking at an avatar, maybe. If it's not in your head, no chance, you don't get it, right? That's also an important point, I think, always to mention.
Yeah, because of course, every one of us know where we have to look maybe, but it also changed. And with the time of development on these parts, I think we are really reached a high level. And with these images, we already reached the end of our end-to-end. So we started with the development, we started with the fabric and with the color, and now we ended with the content production and create images you can use for the customers. But what makes our virtual models so special? We all know every person is unique, and that starts for us with the individual body. So for the fashion development, the body is very important because every brand has its own style, has its own philosophy behind his garment development. We have the passion to create humans' bodies with all their fine features and measurements, from size 0 to big size to pregnancy, with muscles or without. And again, fashion is made for people. So fashion without a people doesn't work, and we humans doesn't work without fashion. So on each person, the same outfit looks different, and it creates its own effects. In combination with the possibilities of the DMIx cloud, we can show the variances of fashion and our twin models. As you can see here, this suit looks very different on all these women. And as well here in the photo shoot, in the 3D studio, you can make pictures from details, from different perspectives and in the whole view. So you have your variances, what you want to show for the e-commerce or for your marketing. Of course, also for men. As well here, you have the detailings. I think here in these pictures, it's very nice to see the fabric on the jacket of the man. And you can show all your colorways on different twin models. And you have the effect of the color. So skin tones are matching with clothing colors.
And just imagine how effective these workflows are, right? So you're moving away from hiring models, from hiring photographers, from all that kind of stuff that can happen only if you have a prototype. Here is no prototype. This is all digital. So if you are good in producing these digital garments, you are there in no time, right? So you have basically your asset at a very early point where you can then use it for testing, for presentations, you can create multiple colorways and decide at a very later stage only what you want to produce. And with DMIx running in the background of the system, you already have all the data. So basically you could give this to a supplier to produce it with, of course, all the CAD data, with the color data, with the fabric behavior, and everything is together in one asset, right? That's the huge advantage.
Yeah, you can start at the designing point with these kind of images. So everyone can imagine how a look looks like. Also on different sizes. I think it's very necessary and very important to show how a garment looks on different bodies. And here also again the colorways. Even in those special times, we want to be on vogue in our digital world. So we need our special avatar or our special twin model for that. And also for development. To make a photo shoot with a pregnant woman, it's quite difficult because 2 weeks later she looks different and the garment won't fit anymore or you need something else. But what about the humans? For our diversity, we need something to scale that. And that brings us to our latest development in the market. On everyone's lips, AI. We are currently developing an integrated solution where our virtual models can be scaled with AI. This solution will be integrated into the DMIx cloud, and it increases our flexibility and diversity. So you really can scale up the different models. For each market, you need another person. So in each country, you want to show, maybe to show someone else.
I think especially, and we are here at DMIx Expo, so we are talking to marketing people a lot, right? And so when we started this journey, we had like 4 of those models. And the first question was, yes, but we need 50 or we need 100. We need new models every 4 weeks, which is, of course, in the artistic process, impossible, right? We would need a lot of verse people to create so many models.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, of course, it's understandable, right? You know that you want to exchange things, that you want to see changes. We had a lot of discussions about makeup, hair, all that kind of stuff. When marketing and styling drops in, suddenly things get really, really complicated. And for the 3D world, that's still a huge challenge. And this is, of course, where the combination of AI and 3D makes a lot of sense, right? And I myself also thought this might be quite easy because you can see how far you can do a human, how fast you can create a human in Mid-Journey or in all the other programs. But of course, it's the details that, that make everything complicated. So just try to repeat a human in Mid-Journey, good luck, right? You will get always different stuff. And this is where it gets really complicated, right? Where you have really to look deep into what AI and how AI is doing things in order to get to the point where you can say, okay, I want to see this model again in my next production, maybe with another makeup or maybe with another hair. And this is what we need, right? So we don't need random pictures. That's nice, but it's not for our pipeline.
Yeah, the same is on the garment side. So when we talk about fashion, so we want to repeat the fashion. So in our solution, we leave the given information of the body and of the clothing defined. And the AI makes a character. And as Gerd said, the character should also be consistent. Because maybe I like this model and I wanted to create it again, and sometimes it's not possible. And so that's why we are developing a solution with AI.
Yeah, just imagine you found a model that works very well. It sells. So you want to repeat it, right? You want to book it again. And this is, of course, what we need to make sure that you can do.
And as well, AI, of course, enables us to make the environment, to change the environment. But for us, the thing is, we have the maximum control on the garment side, and we have the maximum flexibility on the character side.
And I think that's also something that is very important, right? Because as soon as you start to product people, you don't want any compromise on the product, because I mean that's also the what you're trying to sell, right? So you can't have small iterations done by AI to something that is delivered to a customer, right? That needs to be precisely what in the end gets delivered. And of course, that's also, it's a huge challenge. But of course, also with the rest. So, I mean, when you see these pictures, I mean, this is crazy, right? You can do whatever you imagine, right? So there's a full world opening up now on how we can produce pictures and where we can go with this process without compromising the product. And yeah, I think that's very nice. And but it's never enough. So, no. I mean, the question that comes when we go to brands and present the pictures, the next question is, they're very nice. Can they move? Can they talk? Obviously, not yet quite so easily, right? But of course, they will talk in future, and they will move. And they will behave like full human bodies. And that's very complex for fashion and textile because we have so complex materials, right? I mean, the behavior of a garment is a very complex thing. And this is not easy simulated in real time. So basically, this is where we need to go to solutions where we combine specialists in fields in order to produce something that makes it possible in the end. And here again, the development is on the way, and it's up to you, Jule, to show how far we can go.
Yeah, how Gerd says, or with the same question, can they move? Yes, they can. So today we like to present you our virtual model Ava in our Unreal pipeline, so in real time. And she is direct interacting with meta-humans, so we get the whole flexibility. And in future, of course, they will talk. Now they have mimic, and who knows? Maybe you can interact with her, or you make your virtual shooting in Unreal live. So you make your fitting, for example, live with a virtual human in Unreal.
And there's no render time anymore, correct?
No, it's real time.
Basically, you bring your garment and your model into a pose. You press a button, and you have a perfect picture. So there's no complicated render time anymore, waiting for pictures, which can be painful sometimes. But here you can produce 1,000 pictures in a day, and then decide which one to use, right? So that's the next evolution that's coming.
Yeah, and also here for us it was very important that we reach the quality level of our avatars. And Ava, I think she, as well in Unreal, she looks really beautiful. And that's, I think, the special thing that we created her there. And I think you won't see if she's in Unreal or if she's in the other render pipeline. So, yeah. Now have a look on our newest project. So, yeah, the sound is missing. I'm sorry. I don't know, so I can't.
Oh, we don't need the sound.
No, just look on her. I think it's enough. As well, here you have the realistic on the garment side with the simulation, you have the realistic on the human, and you have the interaction or the mimic of the person of the virtual humans. She moves, she's smiling, and she can move her eyes.
And of course, we'll also be completely free of background, free of the world where you're setting this, right? I mean, there's already people building huge worlds in Unreal where you can place your character in the end. So it's crazy. It's limitless. And I think we are on time.
We are on time.
Perfect.
So thank you for your time and that you enjoy our lecture.
Thanks very much.